Post the elections, the Electoral College and U.S. Congress has certified the 2020 election, deeming Joe Biden the 2020 president-elect. Since then, riots and divisiveness continue to spark across the country. I interviewed students and professors regarding the elections to see what was going through their minds during the week of election.
I mean, for me personally, it was really stressful. It was like stressful for all of my family because it's like we were kind of waiting for like what was gonna happen, who was gonna win. The fact that it like took so long kind of like made it confusing. Like, well, why is this state taking longer than this state? Like, what's going on, kind of thing. Especially for my mom, it was really stressful because she wanted this person to win, but my dad wanted this person to win. So it was just like really overall stressful of like who would win because one person could really help, but the other person maybe not so much. And I think America was just waiting for that.
Well, I wasn't really surprised by anything. Like, honestly, it was my family and I, like everyone else, were watching the election. Uh, we're like, yeah, we bet this won't be finished tonight, but we were still anticipating to see who would win. That morning, like, I jumped on to see who had the most seats, and it was like, oh, it's like Biden does at the moment. And I was like, I wasn't surprised still. I was like, yeah, it seems weird, but um, just how it's gonna go. And then what I noticed that was the weirdest to me was that Trump stayed between 210 seats and 214 seats, I believe, and then Biden jumped up about 60 without Trump moving, and I was like, huh, yeah, I mean, right there. And so then when all the scandals started coming out, well, scandals about voter fraud, I was like, I mean, what do you expect? It's when you redo the system like they did this election, especially with mail-in votes, of course there's going to be fraud.
I had prepared myself that results probably would not be finalized that night. We are a closely divided nation. We're a deeply divided nation. And I realized largely after Florida was not going the Democratic direction that it probably was going to be a long night.
According to Washington's Secretary of State's website, the state adopted an absentee voting system in 1991 that allowed for all registered voters to request a mail-in ballot. Since then, and starting in 2004, counties had the approval of an entirely mail-in voting system that still occurs today. According to Secretary of State Kim Wyman, Washington's voter fraud rate in 2018 was 0.004%, or 142 people out of 3.2 million ballots casted, which proved to not influence elections and curtails an effective system.
And with how the election turned out, do you still have faith in our election system? Why or why not?
Well, Washington has been on like a mail-in ballot for I think it's like been like 15 years now. I can't remember how long it's been. But that seems to work out well for Washington, except like on election day, all these people were going in to vote, like they would wait till the last day, which is why I think it took so long. And I think like other states should adapt like the mail-in voting because like how well it worked for Washington.
Voter, not at all. When I went to vote, I wasn't mailed in a ballot, and so I went online, and all they asked for to log in to access my personal information was my full name and birthday, like no social security number, nothing. Then I was given access to all my state information besides personal, like social security number, and then I filled out my ballot online, printed it off, and mailed it in. I mean, like, that don't seem secure to me, and it's no wonder that I mean, there is as much fraud as there's been in the voting system just this election.
I think there's probably some voter fraud going on. It just seems like that. And I've seen photos of people throwing away or ripping up votes. So, and then people exposing other people's plans to rig the election and all that. So, I definitely think there's some voter fraud going on. And I do have some faith in the election system today. It just needs to be less biased.
Oh, yes. We had nearly 150 million, 160 million votes cast in the election. The number of cases of alleged fraud at this point is I've only seen one hand in terms of number of people who have been suspected or alleged that fraud has occurred. You had 50 different states count ballots, and everything is, for an election that many states had vote by mail. There were a large number of absentee ballots for the first time. Things went relatively smoothly, and yeah, I don't think there's any reason for people to lose faith in the process of counting votes.
In an interview with NPR, Washington's Secretary of State Kim Wyman said that it takes 5 to 10 years for states to adopt an efficient vote-by-mail system. Dozens of states were expected to create the infrastructure for a large-scale vote-by-mail system in 6 to 7 months. This led to an election week rather than an election day, sparking conservative outrage over the results. According to USA Today, there were 5 major election irregularities that conservatives pointed to, such as the large amounts of counties won by President Trump and the fact that Republicans gained seats in the House. Yet with claims of voter fraud, Trump's legal team was not able to win their battle in the courts.
I believe he has a lot of good plans for like the United States and stuff, except I feel like, in my personal view, I feel like Trump did some damage to America, and so we're gonna kind of have to rebuild off it. Like, it just wasn't him though. Over the years, America's kind of fallen. Like the economy back in 2008, and like especially now with COVID, we just like, as long as Joe Biden has like a good standing of a COVID vaccine and stuff, I think America will be good. Because like right now, everyone's just like locked inside.
The way I see a Biden nation is suppressed freedoms for the right, like gun laws or religious rights, and any speech on the right side, like think of PragerU with their videos that are being constantly taken down. So we're still gonna have free speech, but not for the right. I think that a Biden nation is going to have a lot less law enforcement, and a majorly disbanded military. And so I think funds for both of those areas are going to get lessened in a way. And I think we might enter into war with some countries, but I'm not for sure. Guess we'll have to wait and see, you know?
I've been hearing a lot of fire taxes and all this. And Biden does plan on giving more money to the people with another stimulus if he gets in office. Then there's Green New Deal that I think AOC wrote. I don't know who wrote it. I think it was politicians that wrote the plan. I don't know if any economists or people that look at the economy and analyze it
Going more on Trump's reaction not to concede and continue to fight in the courts. So what does that say about him, and what does that say about his presidency?
I kind of feel like the election results, the way he acted, it almost gave a summary of him as a president for those 4 years. Like, for example, how sometimes he would, like, when he was talking about Putin or some other leaders of other countries, he would kind of act immature and childish about it by, like, calling people dumb or stupid. And I feel like saying that after the election, like a major historical election, that was pretty much childish, kind of just summing up what his 4 years of presidency were.
I think that's absolutely the right thing to do, because when you know someone cheated, you have a choice to make, whether to speak out against it or to let them suffer their own consequences. But I think it certainly showed that he's not a pushover. I mean, that's something I'd like to look for in a leader. Is not just to roll over and give up, especially when there's been such fraud in play with evidence. It's not just speculated.
And to continue on more voting numbers, so according to CNN, Trump received 47% of the Latino vote in Florida, and overall between 25 and 30% nationwide. So why do you think more Latinos voted for Trump this election than his first term?
I personally don't know, because I'm half Latina, and so like it's kind of hard because like he did build a wall for Mexico, but I do understand because like for immigrants coming over and stuff. But I honestly don't know, because he's like trying to kick all the Hispanics out, like all the illegal ones and stuff, when they're like working good, they have a good job, paying their taxes and all this stuff. So I honestly don't know why.
Well, I think it's because, especially in Florida, there's a lot of Cuban communities out there, and my youth group actually did a mission trip to a Cuban community out there and actually did some help. They come from Cuba, obviously, and Cuba is a communist dictatorship. Cubans escape from communism by coming to the US, where there's more freedom. And when they hear these Republican news outlets, they say the Biden administration wants to put more socialism. All the representatives want to put more socialism into the U.S. government, and these Cubans. I've watched a video of a Cuban mother with a AR saying that she doesn't want to go back, basically.
And on the other side, on the Democratic side, it seems consistently the vast majority of young people aged 18 to 29 vote for the Democratic Party and Joe Biden. So what do you think draws them to the Democratic Party?
I think that, I mean, I'm going to be interested in seeing the full exit poll results and how they're recalibrated, how they get recalibrated, probably in the next 4 to 6 months. But my sense is that the people aged 29 to 18 to 29, they are that population is much more diverse than the rest of the electorate. So you see larger numbers of individuals of color in that age group compared to the rest of the electorate. And so I think there is a large sense of that demographic is voting like their elders in the sense that the Black community largely has continued to support the Democratic Party for multiple years. The Latino community has voted about the same rate. I mean, it's varied, but it hasn't really changed much since 2000, about 70-30. I mean, it's about where the Latino vote is. So as the population is getting more diverse, that age bracket is going to seem to be more democratic.
I guess it seemed that coming from the left, they pointed to Russian collusion and kind of how Trump was an illegitimate president. And now on the right, we're seeing that they're claiming that Joe Biden stole the election, saying he's the illegitimate president. So what does this mean for the future of the country, and what does this mean for this kind of increased divide in our electorate?
That's $1 million question, and I don't know. But that's the right. It's the right question. We have a lot of people who do believe that the election. We have polls are suggesting that up to 50% of Republicans do not believe that Biden won the election. How that plays out is going to be really the most interesting question over the next 2 months, or however much long until January 20th, but also what the Republicans in Congress, how the Republicans, assuming that Biden is making the not so big leap that Biden has inaugurated on January 20th, but how Republicans in Congress are going to react and continue to respond after inauguration.
With President-elect Joe Biden set to be inaugurated on Wednesday, January 20th, 20,000 National Guard troops have been stationed to protect the Capitol. This decision followed the Capitol building riot on January 6th that led to a halt of a congressional session, 1 woman shot by police, and dozens of arrests. Racial and political tensions remain high as the polarization of America continues. Yet, through previous crises, America awaits the first term of a Biden-Harris administration with hopes of unity.